All right, hey everyone, let's get into the recurrence of the questions that we did not have time to do in this tutorial. So we're starting with question 1, part 4 with the reciprocal method. So let's break this down. So we already spoke about earlier for this question. You guys remember that HR allocates based on the number of employees. So let me change my marker size here. And then IS allocates cost based on processing time. So how many minutes they spent processing. So let's do the reciprocal method. So remember in the reciprocal method, every division helps each other. You kind of like go back and forth. All right. So it's like, just everyone helps each other. That's just the best way to explain it. All right. So anyways, when doing the reciprocal method, our first step, so let's do part Q1, part 4. All right. Or Q1, I'll just put 4 over here, requirement 4. All right. So our step 1 is to build the equations. All right. So first off, we're going to build the equation for the HR department. So for human resources. Okay. So remember the cost of HR that we're allocating is first off the cost before allocation. So it's the cost 72,700, right? The cost of the division plus how much they use of the other support department. So HR incurs 72,700 in cost, but also they're gonna have additional cost because they're receiving help from the information systems. So we have to ask ourselves, how much help does HR receive from the information systems? Well, HR receives 320 minutes of, what did we say, 3,840 from before? Was it 3,840? Let me just scroll up. Did we do this part? Just give me a second. Let me scroll up. I'm pretty sure we got the total. Yeah, 3,840 was the total. Okay, so that's the total. We can always add it all up just to be sure. So 3,840. All right, so that's how much we use of the information systems. So times IS. All right, so that's the equation of HR. It's always how much do they use out of the total of the other support department. All right, since we use 320 minutes of IS, that is the ratio that we're making, okay? That's the percentage. All right, now let's do it for information systems. So information systems, guys, is going to incur 234,400 in cost. So let's put that down, 234,400. And then they're also going to receive cost because they're using services from the other support department. So you see our information systems needs HR, right? They need some human resources up in there. So they're going to incur additional cost because they need support. All right, so let's ask ourselves, let's put it down rather, how much do they use of HR? So IS is going to use 21 employees from HR out of the 91 and times HR. Okay, well, actually, I'll put it on the line up here. So those are 2 equations, and that's it. You always have to ask yourself, how much do you use of the other support department? So it's the cost of the support department plus how much they use of the other support department. So IS, the cost of IS before any allocations, plus the amount they use of HR. So now all we have to do, guys, here is linear algebra. So what I'm going to do here is, guys, I actually already have it solved. So I'm just going to go put it down. Or actually, you know what? Maybe I'll solve for, I'll just do it. Okay, anyways. So for HR, guys, all right, it's 72,700 plus 320 over 3,840 times IS. So what we're going to do now is we're going to substitute IS into this equation, right? Like I said, back to Math 206, 208 linear, and you're going to get this done. So times, open bracket, 234,400 plus 21 over 91 HR. Okay, and you're just going to expand this bracket and keep going. So let me just grab my calculator. So I always keep everything in fractions, guys, till the end, because honestly, that just gives you the most accurate number. So 320 over 3,840 times 234,400. So 234,400. That should give me 19,533. So I'm going to do that. So anyways, so HR equals 72,700. So just we're expanding the bracket now, right? So we're just taking this multiplied by this and that multiplied by that, right? That's just simple math. Okay, so anyways, I got 19,553, so plus 533, and then plus, we're going to do 320 over 3,840 times 21 over 91, times 21 over 91. So I'm doing everything in fractions, and I get the answer as 1 over 52 HR. Okay? Now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the HR and drag it over to the other side, and then obviously you flip the sign. So this becomes 51 over 52 HR, because like if it's just HR, guys, it's like 1 HR. So you just minus 1 over 52. So anyways, that's 51 over 52 HR, which equals to 72,700 plus 19,533. So that gives me 92,233. All right, so 92,233. All right, so that's where we're at now. Now we're going to divide both sides by 51 over 52. And then that's how we get our cost of the HR. So let's do 92,233 divided by 51 over 52. And then I get 94,041. I'm just going to say 94,042. All right, I'm just going to round. So 94,042. That is the cost of HR. All right, so this is when we do our grid, this is what we're putting as a negative in the row of HR. This is how much HR is going to allocate to other support divisions. All right, so now we got the cost of HR. If we want to find the cost of IS, let's rewrite the equation here. Actually, I'll just copy paste it, just save some time. Let's recopy this equation for a second. Copy, paste. So all we have to do now, guys, to solve for IS is plug 94,042 into HR. And guys, I'm going to just read the answer out here just to save time. So just plug 94,042 and honestly just do the math on it. And you will get, what's the answer here? 256,102. 256,102. So guys, this is the cost that we're going to be putting as a negative in the IS column. All right? Because this is what IS is allocating to other support departments. So anyways, step 1 is to build equations. Step 2 was to solve for them, right, using the substitution. And then step 3 is to build your chart. And then just allocate like we've always done. All right. Another popular question I get actually, guys, is that I didn't really bring it up in the tutorial, was that what if you have 3 support departments? So here you see you have 2 support departments, right? So you could just plug in one to the other. But what if you have 3 algebraic equations? What if we had like janitorial here, right? We spoke about janitorial or admin. What about if we had janitorial? How would I solve for 3 X's? Well, guys, good news for you is that you're not required to do that. So if there are 3 support departments, don't worry about the algebra and solving for X when there's 3 unknowns. You're not going to have to do that. All right, so that's like more complicated substitution in math, but like we're in accounting, guys, you know, we're not actuary here. Not that you need actuary to do that, but like I was just making a joke. So you're not going to have to do the algebra on 3 support departments. I didn't bring that up in the tutorial, so I just wanted to bring it up now. All right, so I hope that's clear with everyone. So now we're step 3, we build our chart. So we have our first support department, which is HR. We have a second support department, IS. Let's put our big line down here, do little dotted lines to indicate we're separating the support departments. Then we have corporate. And then we have little dots. Then we have consumer. All right. Then we have our cost. I'm actually wait, cost before. I'm so used to writing CCA. I've been studying 440. So we have our cost before allocation, right? Then we have our HR cost that we're going to allocate, our IS cost that we're going to allocate, and our cost after allocation. So let's put this a big line over here, and bam, we're good to go. So our cost before allocation, guys, it's always the same, right? No matter what method you do, just put all your costs in the top before you do any messing around. All right, 23400, 998,270, and then 489,860. So that's chill so far. Now, the cost of HR that we got from our substitution is what we're plugging into our grid. So 94,042. And we plug that as a negative. For IS now, what we're going to plug into IS as a negative is 256,102. All right, so this is the IS cost that we're allocating, and that's the HR cost that we're allocating. So just remember where to put it, all right? Because this row here allocates the HR, we make sure we put the negative here. And because this row allocates the IS, make sure you put the IS there as a negative. So don't mix up the spots where you put it. All right? Anyways, now, this is what we could do. Let's start with HR. So for HR, guys, we have to ask ourselves, how much does HR help IS? All right? So what you guys could do here is you essentially have 2 options, right? You know that the cost after allocation for both support departments has to be 0. Or has to be, all right? Because remember, it's a support department. Its whole purpose is helping the operating. Thus, the cost actually belongs to the operating division. So we got to make sure these are down to 0. We're allocating it to the operating departments. Now, we have two options here. We could either take the percentage, or you could just algebraically just put the number here that gets you to 0, right? So I want everyone to see here how I'm just going to use algebra. And I'm going to ask myself, 234,000 plus what gets me to 0, right? So I'm going to do 256, 102 minus 234, 400. So you're going to see here that you get 21,702. Okay? 21,702. Now, you could have done that with basic algebra like I just did, or you could do it the same way that we did in the step down direct method, where you could take the proportion. So if we're going to allocate the HR costs, if you want to make this a little bit harder for yourself, you don't want to use basic algebra, take the 94,042 and then multiply it by the amount that IS uses of HR. So remember, IS uses 21 employees out of the 91. So they should incur that percentage of the cost. So since IS uses, let's write it here, 21 over 91. Let's see what that gets us. 94,042 times 21 over 91. That gets us 21,702. So literally the same number that we had before, but we just wanted to do it with the percentages. So you see there's two ways to do this, guys. You could do it algebraically, or you can go, just do a percentage. I think that's technically algebra as well. So multiply by the percentage, or just put whatever number gets you to 0, right? So let's go allocate all the HR costs, and then let's move to the IS items. So guys, it's easiest just to go row by row. I'm not going to go put the number here that gets me to 0 right away. I just like going row by row because I feel a little bit more organized when I do so. So anyways, now guys, we figured out how much IS helps HR, how much HR helps IS, right? They provide 21 employees. Now, HR provides corporate 42 out of the 91. So I'm going to do times 42 over 91. So what's 94,042 times 42 over 91? That's 43,404. All right. And then for the last one, for consumer sales, we have 28 employees out of the 91. That's not the best 9. So hope you guys could forgive me for that. And then 28 over 91. And that gets you 28,936. So 28,936. All right. So that is all our HR costs. Everything's allocated. And if you were to do the math, guys, it would add up to 94,042. All right. So that's the reciprocal method. Same thing as before, but just everyone's helping each other out now, right? So let's keep it going. Now we have to ask ourselves here, guys. Well, we could do the same thing that we did before, right? What number gets me to 0? Or I can multiply 256 by the amount that HR uses. Because think about it. We have to ask ourselves here, how much does HR use of the information systems? Well, HR uses 320 minutes out of the total 3,840. All right, so you can multiply by that number, or you could just use basic algebra. So what gets you to 0? So let's do that now. So 94, I like doing it like that personally. I don't multiply by the percentage. I just like keeping my life simple. So 94,042, all right, minus 72,700 gets me 21,342. So 21,342. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can multiply it by the ratio and you'll get literally the same number. So if you did 256, 102 times 320 over 3840, you would also get 21,342. Actually, according to my Excel here, let me open this for a second, my solution. Okay, you get a slightly different, I've just rounded up here. All right, so if you actually did it if you were rounding and stuff, you get 21,341.83. If you guys check my solution, that's what it says. And honestly, guys, that's why I don't multiply by the percentage. I usually just do the remainder, because in the end, you could honestly lose marks if you don't get to 0 down here, because your teacher needs you to understand the whole purpose of cost allocation, right? These support departments have to have 0 at the end. Okay? So anyways, I always just like putting in the remaining number, but you got to do what's best for you in the end. Okay? So I hope that's okay. So anyways, let's highlight that because this indicates IS. And now let's go left to right like we normally do. All right, so we have to ask ourselves, how much does IS help of corporate? Well, IS helps corporate by providing them 1,920 out of the 3,840. All right, and that gets you 128,051. Just go into my solution now. All right, and now we have to ask ourselves, how much does consumer use of the information systems? Well, consumer sales uses 1,600 of the 3,840. And then that gives you 106, what's my solution say here? 106,709. 106,709. 709. All right. And that, guys, is it. All right. So now we fully allocated the IS cost to corporate and consumer sales. And just like that, we're A-okay, we're good, and we're done this problem. Actually, no, we're not done yet. We got to do the totals. So my solution here says, if I ever don't explain something good, guys, this is one of my pet peeves. I feel like when people read solutions, they don't explain enough. So if you guys don't understand anything, just let me know. So 625, 505. Okay. All right. Anyways, everyone, that's it. Okay. So now you got your totals, and that's the answer to the problem. That's your cost after allocation using the reciprocal method. So we just did algebra, and then afterwards you went back and forth. So everyone helps everyone. You guys see that as evident here, right? So normally we only go left to right, right? Normally HR just goes helps everyone, like in the step down. Like in the step down method, guys, remember how HR helped everyone, but didn't help IS? Well, the reciprocal method says, listen, every support department, they help each other. So HR helps IS, and then IS helps HR. You know, they return the favor. And that's just how it goes. All right. So that is your answer to reciprocal. And just go practice a little bit more. Remember, if you're a bit unsure about algebra, you're not confident, you can always use Wolfram Alpha. I'll show you guys how to do that at a later day. And that's just like a very easy way to solve questions very quickly. All right. So that is part 4 of question 1. Hey everyone, let's get into this chapter 15 question on period cost allocation. Okay, so guys, this is a past midterm question, so don't be afraid if you make mistakes. This is the right place to learn. Okay, now everyone, first things first here, when we're in a past midterm question, any tougher questions, this is kind of the approach I want you to use when you're solving the question. Okay, so first off, guys, when we're reading the first paragraph here, the intro level paragraph, all right, these are the 3 things I want you to look out for. Okay, because in the information provided, sometimes it's fluff. In the case of this question, it's fluff because they already give you most of the elements. This past midterm question is on the easier side. And some of the times, guys, it's really essential to read it because they give you key information in the question, okay? So in reading through the information, all right, above here, these are 3 things I want you to look out for. First off, what are the support and operating departments? Okay. 2, what are the cost drivers for the support departments? What are cost drivers for support departments, right? So guys, what the cost drivers are for support departments, right, is what drives the cost. How does the support department incur costs in the first place? So if I jump to the question here quickly, you'll see how tech support allocates based on hours, information system allocates based on hours, and facilities based on square feet. That is what I'm talking about. Okay, so sometimes in the question, they won't tell you how tech support allocates their hours, how information system allocates their hours, or how facility allocates. Not hours, how allocates their cost, right? So we need to look for what is the cost driver because we have to know how the support department allocates costs. So when you get into tougher questions, you will see this point here, okay? Now, once you do that, guys, once you finish those two things, you know which is the support and what's the operating. You know what are the cost drivers for the support departments. That's what SD stands for, support department. You can now get started, okay? We're lucky in this question, guys. They already give you the support departments and the operating. They point out very clearly. So, you know, you have nothing really to worry about. But like I said, when you get into tougher past exam questions, you will have to know this. Okay. So guys, I'm not going to read through this information because I already know what's the support and operating because it's given to me and they already give me the cost drivers. Okay. You could go read it if you want here. It'll tell you the major functions of the business are programming and training, which means these are the operating departments, right? The major functions is how the business makes money. Those are the operating departments. And it tells you the support departments right here, right? But if you want to read it, you know, have at it, have fun, do you? Okay. Anyways, required 1 is to use the direct allocation method. Okay. Now, guys, this is your second problem, so I'll go a little bit more slowly, but I'm not going to be this slow all the time. Especially if you join the tutorials, you'll see as we get on to past exams, we are definitely going to up the pressure, maybe up the speed a little bit, because the name of the game, guys, in any managerial accounting class is you got to solve well, but also efficiently because it's a race against the clock. You guys maybe remember this from doing Comp 305. It's not that any of this stuff was necessarily super hard. It's also really long. Well, 330, guys, just happens to be a little bit harder and a little bit longer. So you really got to be efficient. Okay. Anyways, my point is here, guys, the direct allocation method. What is it? You ignore relationship between support departments. Support depth. Okay. So we clearly see here how tech helps IS and facilities, how information system helps tech and facilities, and how facilities helps information and tech, right? We see here they all help each other to some degree, but since we're doing the direct method, we do not care about the relationship between these support departments. We only care about how much they help the operating. So guys, let me put a step here. Required, so we can read the required after we're done this. And now, guys, we could get into required one, R1, which is do the direct method, which we ignore the relationship between support. Okay. So, guys, once we have all this stuff down, we can build our board. So let's put tech support on the left, IS. Then we have facilities, programming, and training. Okay. There we go. Now we have our cost before allocation. Then we have tech support, information systems, facilities, cost after allocation. Okay, there we go. Now put a straight line here down the middle. Okay, I don't know why that line broke. And we can put little dotted lines in between, indicating the differences between support departments and operating. There we go. Okay, now, guys, first things first that I can do here is I could plug in all my budgeted costs. All right, they're given to me straight up. All right, most of the time they're given to you guys in some harder past exam questions. You'll actually have to go solve for it, but we'll do that later. Okay, I won't worry. Let you worry so much now. You're on your second question most likely ever, so let's leave the tripping out, the panic attacks, everything to later. Okay, don't worry though, I got you covered. Okay, so that's how we're starting off, guys. Our cost before allocation. Okay, now first things first that we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna allocate tech support. Okay, now, guys, it's important to remember that we're doing the direct method, so the relationship between support departments are ignored. So we don't care that tech support helps information system and facilities. Why? Because we're doing the direct method. We directly help the operating. Okay, so we're going to take this $30,000 in cost and we're going to remove it from tech because we're taking this cost and moving it to the other departments that use their services. So we're not helping IS and facilities because we're doing the direct method. Now we got to figure out how much of this cost gets allocated to programming, how much gets allocated to training. So, guys, to do this, you first have your chart. But now what's very important, guys, is you build your total allocation schedule. Total allocation. Okay, your total allocation schedule here. Now, in our total allocation schedules, guys, I'm using abbreviations. I'm calling it TA for TS. Total allocation for tech support. Now, for tech support, guys, I first need to figure out how much tech support helps tech support. Well, you guys see here, okay, that tech support doesn't help themselves, okay? They allocate no hours to themselves, and this is the correct answer, okay? And guys, this goes to a much, like, how do I want to say this? It goes into a very common trick on the exam, okay? So let's just pretend Kapoor, right? He's the coordinator at the point of this recording, puts 5,000 hours that tech uses to help themselves. Would you guys include this? Would you put 5,000 hours here when you're figuring out the total amount of hours you have to allocate for tech support? Well, the answer is no, guys. You never do self-allocation. So if tech allocates 5,000 hours to themselves, you say no, no, no. The whole point is we help other people using our service, okay? We allocate nothing to ourselves. We have to completely allocate our costs to the other departments, okay? So if tech allocate 5,000 hours to themselves, we know this is a trap, okay? We make sure to put 0 because we never do self-allocations, okay? You never allocate to your own department. You allocate to the others, okay? So, everyone, if you understand that, okay, that there's no self-allocations, I'll just leave the 5,000 here and I'll put X. Okay? Then, how much does tech support help information systems? Well, technically, they help by providing 18,000 hours, but we're doing the direct method, so 0. Then we have facilities. Okay? So, tech support helps facility by providing them 2,000 hours, but we're doing the direct method, so 0. Then we have programming. Then we have training, and I'll put total over here. Now, they help program by providing them 60,000 hours. Training 40,000. That gives us a total, guys, we add up this whole row of 100,000. That is your total allocation. Okay, so guys, if tech support incurs $30,000 in cost and programming uses 60,000 hours, guys, and the training uses 40,000, this is how much cost we're going to allocate accordingly. So right now, guys, at this point, we have 60 and 40, but we have to turn this into proportions. Okay, now everyone, when doing these types of questions on your exam, okay, not these types of questions, chapter 15, period cost allocation questions, I highly recommend you leave everything in a fraction as to not avoid rounding errors. Okay, I kindly ask you to leave everything in a fraction. Okay, it's even like that in the answer keys when grading. Everything is shown as a fraction. So this is how I want you to do it. Okay, we know programming uses 60,000 of the 100,000. So in terms of proportion, guys, it's 60 over the total. That's how you develop a proportion, guys, a fraction. 60 over the total of 100 goes to programming. So in other words, guys, programming uses 60%. That's, that's this number as a decimal, but we're not using decimals. This is literally the last time I'm using it. Since programming uses 60% of tech support, they should incur 60% of the cost. So we do 30,000 times 60,000 over 100,000. That gives us a cost to be allocated here, guys, of 18,000. Okay, and then we do the same thing now for training. So we did programming. Now training uses 40,000 of the 100,000. So they use 40%. So they should be responsible for 40% of the cost. So 30,000 times 40 over 100, that gives you a total, guys, of 12,000. And that is your answer. Okay, and remember, guys, if you ever wanted to check, your total allocations should equal back to the base amount. So we took this 30,000, guys, and we split this between programming and training. Okay, that is what we did. So make sure you add it back. Well, not make sure you add it back. But if you want to check your answer, always add up everything you did here. All right, or in this case, add up everything you did here. These four, it should equal to this. Okay, and I can even show you when doing the step down. Okay, because the negative has to equal the positive. Because it's like saying, guys, you're taking away this 30,000 and you're moving it to everyone else. Okay, when doing the direct method, guys, you only help the operating. So that's why I circled this only at first. But the reality is you can always check the negatives equal the total of all the positives here. Okay, so that's 30,000. Now, information systems, guys. Okay, so first off, when we're doing information systems, there's $50,000 in cost to be allocated. Okay, now we're doing the direct method, so we ignore the relationship between support departments, right? So even though information systems helps tech provide them 16,000 hours and facilities provide them 4,000 hours, we ignore the relationship between support. Okay, so let's go build our total allocation now that we're going to use for IS. So first off, how much does IS help tech support? Nothing, because we're doing the direct method. Next, how much does IS help themselves? Well, guys, let's pretend IS provide 2,000 hours to themselves. Would you use this number? The answer is no. You never do any self-allocations. You only help the other departments. Okay, don't fall for that trick, guys. Like I'm telling you now, it's coming on the exam. You never self-allocate. Okay, so information systems helps themselves. You remove that from your total. Okay, then facilities, they provide information systems provides facilities 4,000 hours. Nothing, because we're doing the direct method. Then programming, training, total, they provide programming 40,000, training 60,000. That gives you guys a total of 100,000. Then we build our proportions. So programming takes 40 of the 100. Training takes 60 of the total 100,000 here, right? So we build a proportion based on this total. And now we can go do our math. So if the total information systems cost to be allocated is 50,000 and programming uses 40 over 100,000, so in other words, 40%, then they should be responsible with the burden of $20,000 in cost. Okay, then information systems has $50,000 in cost, and then training uses 60 of the 100,000, right? 60 of the 100. That means training should take the burden of $30,000 in cost. Okay, that's where you're at so far. And like you guys see here, if you add up all the positives, so 0 plus 0 plus 20 plus 30, right? That'll get you to total 50,000. So everything offsets. Right, guys, if you want to visualize this too, you can put like a total column. And if you net everything here, it should equal 0. So add up the whole line, it'll give you 0. You add up the whole line, it'll give you 0. I don't recommend doing this on your exam because it's a race against the clock. Just if you're extremely paranoid and want to check your answer, have at it. Okay, now facilities, guys. We're doing the direct method, so we ignore relationship between support departments. So I'm putting dashes through there. We have $70,000 in cost to be allocated. Okay, now let's do our total allocation now for facilities. Okay, so how much does facilities help tech support? Nothing, because we're doing direct method. How much does facilities help information systems? Nothing, because we're doing the direct method. So we ignore the 2 3,000s here. Then how much does facilities help themselves? Well, guys, like I said, this is an easier past midterm question. So you see how they left everything blank for you? That's not going to happen on your exam. So even though it's 0 here, take this as a blessing. Just put 0, but you never do any self-allocations. Then we have programming, training, total. So facilities helps program, providing them 5,000 square feet. Training, 5,000 square feet. Total allocation, 10,000 square feet. So proportions is 5 over 10,000 for programming, 5,000 over 10,000 for training. And now we can allocate the cost. So in other words, guys, programming uses 5,000, all right, of the total 10,000 square feet. In other words, guys, if you're good at math here, you notice they use 50%. They use half. Okay, so they should be burdened with half the cost. So since programming uses half the amount, they take half the cost, which is 35,000, 70,000 times 5,000 over 10,000. Remember, guys, fractions only, no decimals. Then for training, 70,000 times 5,000 over 10,000. Okay, that gives you 35,000 again. So guys, at the end of the day, remember this. Your costs after allocation line, okay? For your support departments, it always has to be 0 at the bottom. Why? Because you have to fully allocate the support department costs to the operating departments because they generate the revenue, they use the support, the cost belongs to them. Okay? So you have to fully allocate these costs, so you're always getting zeros here at the bottom. Okay? Then, guys, you add up all your costs here, and that'll give you 223,000 as your cost after allocation for programming, and 327,000 as your cost allocation for training, and that is the direct method. Okay? Now it's time to get onto the step down method. Normally I'd ask for questions here, but I'm recording by myself. I'm talking to myself. Therefore, I'm moving on. Okay. Now, guys, next question is the step down. Now, when doing the step down method, guys, the most important thing you want to look out for here is the hierarchy, the ranking. So remember, guys, if nothing is said, assume based on highest to lowest cost. All right. So you always pick the one with the most cost to the least. That's how you develop the ranking. Okay. So always remember that's the assumption. Right? That's not always the case. It's most of the time the case, guys, so you don't have to worry. So it's the most common one. It's based on the highest, lowest cost, and it's given to you. But if nothing is given to you, remember to assume so. Right? Now, we're lucky here that in this question, they ask you to do the step down based on the highest, lowest cost. Just remember, guys, put in your notes, assume this, assume highest cost, HC, to LC, which stands for lowest cost, if not given. Okay? Now, let's get right into this, guys, okay? Now, in this solution, guys, I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to round the final answer a little bit, just a tad, because I don't want to keep a bunch of ugly decimal places, because it annoys me, guys, okay? I don't want to do it, so the answer might be off by like $1, and I don't care, you shouldn't care, it's only $1, but on your exam, you're definitely using decimals, okay? I think that's what I just said. I'm lucky enough to have already taken this class, okay? So I wrote down all my decimals when I did my exam. So I've already done my hard work going to 5 decimal places. All right. So unfortunately, guys, even though I'm going to be rounding to 1 decimal place, all right, or just just rounding to 1. Okay. I'm just going to be rounding to 1. Right. You guys will round. Well, guys will not round on your exam. Okay. You're going to be using fractions for your allocations. So make sure not to round. All right. Unless it literally says to round, but it's not. Okay. Now, sorry for that rant, but let's get into now required 2. Required 2 is to do the step down method. Now, guys, it's based on the highest to lowest cost. So we have to build our board. We're taking that ranking into account because remember, guys, when we're allocating from support to operating, we're following left to right. We're allocating based on that ranking when doing the step down method. Okay. So our highest cost, guys, is facilities, then information systems and tech support. So you see here, this is a very nice midterm question. It just goes backwards. Okay. So we're just like reversing the order. So we start with facilities, information systems, tech support, big dotted line all the way down here. Then we have programming, training, and there we go. Then we have costs before allocation. Then we have facilities, information systems, tech support, costs after allocation, and there we go. Okay, now our cost before allocation, guys, 70, 50, 30, 150, 250. The easiest part of the question, it is given to us, but it is not always given to us. Okay. Like I said, we'll cover that in some past midterm questions in the tutorials. Okay. Now, facilities, guys, first and foremost, facilities is the top dog. They incur $70,000 in costs, and they're going to allocate that cost to every other support department because they're the top dog. Okay. Now, we know there's $70,000 in cost to allocate. Okay. Now, let me put 0 here at the bottom. Okay, for all 3, because we're going to have to fully allocate those costs. So we know facilities, we know facilities top dog, so they're here, right? Now, I'm just tripping on my words here. I just want to tell you there's zeros here because you never allocate backwards, right? Information systems not going to allocate anything in facilities. Then tech support's not going to allocate anything in facilities, so I could put 2 dashes right over here to start. Okay? Now, facilities is going to help everyone, okay? So let's go figure out what's their total allocation. So total allocation for facilities. So first off, facilities. How much do they help themselves? Well, we're lucky here on this exam. This was like I said, a past midterm. They were very nice. They put nothing for self-allocations, but that's not going to be the case on your exam. You're very likely to have that. I'll say almost 100% chance. So just be mindful. So let's just say facilities allocated 2,000 square feet to themselves. We would not care, right? No self-allocations. So 0. Then how much does facilities help information systems? Well, they provide them 3,000 square feet. right? How much does facilities help tech support? Will they provide them 3,000 square feet as well? Then how much does facilities help programming? Will they provide them 5,000 square feet? And then training, 5,000 square feet. That gives us a total allocation of 16,000 hours. So not hours, wow, 16,000 square feet. So guys, let's go build our proportions. So our first proportion, guys, is information systems and use 3,000 of the 16,000. So guys, we do 70,000 times 3,000 over 16,000. That gives us a total cost to be allocated for information systems of 13,125. Okay. Then tech support uses 3,000 of the 16,000. So 70,000 times 3,000 over 16,000. That's also going to be 13,125, right? All we're doing, guys, is taking the cost and we multiply it by the percentage used of the support department, right? So since they use this much, they should take that burden of the total cost. Right? That's what cost allocation is. Maybe make sure everything is fair, right? If you use that amount of service of the support department, you should bear that much in cost. Okay. So that is information systems, and tech support. Now programming, 5,000 over 16,000. That should come out to 21,875. Whoops, used a different color blue there. And then we got 21,875 here as well because, well, it's the same proportion. If you don't believe me, look here, 5 over 16, 5 over 16. So 70,000 times 5 over 16, then 70,000 times 5 over 16. And there you go. Okay, wham, bam, done. Okay, that is facilities completely allocated. Now, guys, information systems. Okay, some of you may be keen to put $50,000 as the cost allocated for information systems. But guys, if you did that, it would be wrong. And why? Because you're doing the step down method. So you see here, guys, information systems has $50,000 in cost before allocations. But now, guys, they have another $13,125 in cost that came from facilities. So guys, we have to make sure that at the end of the day, the bottom number here gets to 0, right? So we can't only allocate 50,000 in costs. We also have to allocate the 13,125 that was allocated to them. Okay. So information systems, guys. Okay, sorry, my pronunciation here today is a little bit off. Is 63,125. Okay, that's the amount in cost that we're going to allocate. All right. Now I could put a little dash through right over here because we know tech support, guys, is not going to help information systems, right? We're doing the step down method. So we're allocating from left to right on our chart, right? We don't allocate backwards. We don't allocate left to right. You're allocating back and forth, guys, when you're doing reciprocal. Okay, when everyone helps everyone. From step down, guys, it's just left to right. That's why, guys, it kind of looks like a staircase. If you were to do this here, right? If you do your little drawing, it would kind of look like a staircase. Okay, anyways, let's keep going here, okay? So, or actually, I think the staircase, I was like missing a step, right? If you really want to be like an arts major here and do your little staircase, look at all these stairs. Wow. That's like better than the stairs at Concordia. Look at that quality staircase. That's some quality right there, okay? That's some engineering, but we don't like engineering either. We kind of pick on everyone here. Okay. Anyways, let's actually get rid of the staircase. It's actually bothering me. It looks too good. My handwriting's really off. And yeah. Anyways, I'm tired. So 63,125. Okay. That's the amount of cost we're going to allocate. Then we have our total allocation. All right. For information systems. Okay. So how much information systems helps facilities? Well, even though they provide them 4,000 hours, you never allocate backwards when doing the step down method. You allocate left to right. So information systems, even though they provide facilities 4,000 hours, we allocate from left to right, right? Therefore, information systems provides nothing to facilities. Then, how much does information systems provide themselves? Always 0, no self allocations, please and thank you. Okay, unless you want to take the class next semester, then go for it. Spend your life taking ACCO 330. Do you? Okay, then tech support. Okay, how much does information systems help tech support? Okay, well, guys, even though information systems provides tech support 16,000 hours, you allocate left to right. Okay, wait, did I just say that? Information systems helps tech support by providing them 16,000 hours. Sorry, I'm tripping on my words here. So we put 16,000 hours. Okay, and then we're good. Okay, I almost tripped on my words there. Sorry about that. Okay, so you never allocate backwards. That's my point. So what I meant to say is tech support does not help information systems. This 18,000 will ignore when we're doing our total allocation for tech support. But guys, information systems does help tech, so they provide them 16,000 hours as shown right here. Then programming, then training, that gives us our total. Okay, so for programming, guys, for programming, we got 40,000 here. Okay. And then we got 60,000 over here. And then we also have the 16,000 from that information systems helps tech support. So we have 16,000 that they help tech support, 40,000 programming, 60,000 training. That gives you a total of 116,000. Okay. And I think this is where the numbers start to get ugly, but let's go do our proportions. Okay. So for tech support, it's 16 over 116,000. So if you do 63,125 times 16 over 116, all right, because we're doing the proportion, that's the 16,000. That's the amount that information systems helps tech support over the total hours they help everyone, which is 116. So 63,125 times 16 over 116, that will give you 8706.8966. All right. I think I was ranting earlier, but I think I'll just do decimals because it's easier. 8706.8966. Absolutely gross. Okay. Then programming, 63,125 times the 40,000 over 116. That's a proportion for programming. They use 40,000 of the 116,000 hours. So they should be responsible with 21,767.241 in cost. Okay. I know I lied saying I would round earlier, but I guess I can't be trusted. Kidding. There we go. I just really wanted to make sure I was detailed because I know I'd get questions later about it. Like, Matthew, is this okay? So going all the way, guys. Okay, as you should on your exam. So then we do 60,000 over 116 times 63,125. That'll give you 32,650. Okay, 32,650.862. And there we go. That's the total amount allocated. Okay, so if you sum this all up, it should get you to 63,125, and it does. Okay, now that is information systems being allocated to every other support department. Well, sorry, information systems allocating to tech, programming, training. Like I said, for the step-down method, you're allocating left to right, right? Not backwards. So information systems does not help facilities. Okay. Now, last but not least, guys, we have tech support here. Now, tech support, guys, has $30,000 in cost before allocations. But guys, that's not the amount that we're allocating here because you see our tech support was the last ranking. So they got help, right? They used other support department services. So they had costs allocated to them. We have to make sure, guys, this total amount of costs that we allocate is to the operating departments. So at the end of the day, the cost after allocation for every support is zero. So guys, we have $30,000 in cost before allocations for tech support. Then we receive 13,125 from facilities, then 8706.8966 from information systems. So that leaves us, guys, at $51,000. Okay, so 51,831.8966 is the cost that we're going to allocate here. So when we know, guys, the amount that we're going to have to allocate, because we added up everything, we now have to figure out what is our total allocation for tech support. Now, guys, this is the last support department here, okay? So always, guys, the last support department, it looks exactly like what we did for the direct method because we're only helping the operating, right? The last support department only helps programming and training. All right, that's it. That's all. So, guys, facilities, information systems, tech support, programming, training, total. Okay, tech support does not help facilities because we're doing the step-down method, so we don't care about the 2,000. Tech support doesn't help information systems with the 18,000 hours. Why? Because we're doing the step-down. Tech support, guys, never allocates anything to themselves, and in general, support departments never self-allocate, so zero. Right, so always remember that's the bait here. And then, guys, programming, 60,000, training, 40,000, like we did in the direct method, totals 100. And you guys can see here from doing the direct method, it will be 18 and 12 respectively. If you don't believe me, let's go do it. Let's build a proportion. So 60,000 over the total of 100. Okay, that's our proportion for programming. So we do 50, this ugly number, this 51,831. All right, let me zoom out a bit or scroll up a bit rather. 51,831.8966 times 60 over 100. That'll give you 31,099.138. Then we do 51,831 in the ugly decimals times 40 over 100. And that will give you 20,732.759. Okay. Now, if we add this all up, guys, we get 224,741.38. and that is the cost after allocation for programming. Okay, 224,741.38. Okay, and then for training, guys, whoops, just wanted to make some space here. Okay, then 325,258.62. Okay, and this is your cost after allocations for the operating departments for when when doing the step down method. Okay, there we go. That's it. That's all. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, now, guys, in this last required, this is what I want to explain to you now. All right. Now, let's talk about the previous management accounting course you've done COM 305. Okay. Now, guys, when you did COM 305, maybe some of you did online, maybe some of you did in person. Okay. Now, COM 305, guys, when you do it, it's a general commerce course that's for all students. Okay. As a result, guys, it's much more math-based rather than theory-based because a lot of students that take the class are not in accounting. Okay. Now, guys, you're in your major courses. You're taking here ACCO 330. So, guys, one of the big differences between COM 305 and ACCO 330 is that you're going to have to know theory. Okay, you're gonna have to know theory because it's not only about the math. You're also gonna have to do some explanations and some high-level analysis, guys. And that's what you're gonna be doing all the way in your ACCO classes until you get the CPA, even when you're in the CPA program, right? So a lot of times, guys, even cost allocation at the CPA level, you know, the owner of the business wants to know why they're doing it, which method they should do. Okay, so this is the type of question you should expect on your exam. So guys, in every chapter, basically, you're going to have your math questions, and then you'll have something theoretical to comment on. Because at this point, guys, in your major classes, they're going to start. Sorry, guys, my dog is barking here. Maybe that really scared you when you're watching the video. All right, so let me repeat that because my dog distracted me. One of the big differences between COM and ACCO classes is basically, guys, you're going to have to go do some high-level analysis and really explain to the business owner which method to do and why, at least in this case. But in other topics, guys, you'll have to see you're going to do that high-level analysis. Now, the best way to study for this, guys, is to read your textbook. I know it sounds bad. You know, you're in a tutorial. You expect me to give you everything like I did for COM 305. The reality is, guys, is I could give you notes on this, okay? I could give you notes on the theory between all the methods. But, guys, in my experience, okay, let me just put read book here. From my experience, guys, okay, anytime someone's given me notes, it didn't do me justice, all right? Because at the end of the day, I would have to redo the notes myself. And why? Guys, the only way to really understand theory is to go do your own notes, all right? Read the book, take your own notes at your own pace, write it down, repetition. That's how you let it sink in. If I explain to you the differences between the methods very, very quickly, you're just going to be like, oh yeah, Matt, the way you explained it, that makes sense. And then forget it on your exam, okay? So I'm not going to do you the disservice and explain to you every theory, like at least in the theory video, you'll see, right, that I didn't really do too much theory. I kind of showed you how to get after the math. Because guys, the textbook, it doesn't show you all the tips, tricks, how to solve the math questions. It only shows you the theory. Okay. So use the book, right? Use the strengths of the book in which it is all theory. Okay. And you have to combine the strength of the tutorial that I teach you, right? Which is how to do the math with the theory from the book. Okay. That's the best thing you can do. I'm really sorry for this rant, but it's important. Okay. Now, I'm still going to answer this question, obviously, and give you the answer. But like I said, I really recommend you read the book because that's what will allow you to go do your high-level analysis on the exam and going forward. And guys, maybe when you get to the CPA program one day, you're going to really like falling back on these notes, right? Because you take these notes once, then when you get to the CPA program and you have to do cost allocations again, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember which method to do and why I did this in ACCO 330. And that's why it's important. You guys will be surprised. Like I've taken this at the time of this recording, I'm taking the CPA program. And a lot of times, guys, I actually rely on the notes that I did from undergrad, right? Because a lot of stuff you do in CPA is like high level undergrad. Okay. Like cases on some of this stuff. It's not like necessarily all about the math, but you're really going to have to know the theory. Okay. Anyways, rant over. Let's go get into this now. Okay. So they want to know the differences between the methods. All right. So let's go talk to Onwood about the differences between the methods, okay? So first off, what's the difference between the direct method and all the other methods, okay? Well, guys, it's just straight up in your textbook, okay? So let me pause the recording here and let me go put the reasons down and I'll just show them to you. Well, actually, you know what? I lied there. Let me actually just show them to you, okay? So first off, what's the difference between the direct method and the other methods? Well, first off, guys, as you know, the direct method is much more simple to calculate. Simple to calculate. And why? No allocations between support departments. Support departments, SD. Okay, that's the first thing. The direct method is much more simple because there's no allocations between support departments. Now, another big difference between the direct method, guys, okay, and this is straight out of your textbook as well, okay, because this is just based on the math, but if you want to actually tell a business owner why they should do a direct method over another method, it's more inexpensive to implement. Inexpensive to implement. Okay, because guys, you have to think about it. If you're a small business, obviously the more features you have in your information system, the more cost it's going to add, right? So if you have a much more simple method, which is the direct, because you ignore a relationship between support, it's more inexpensive and may be best for that business, right? Okay, so that's the first thing with the direct method, but you'll see, guys, it's also in your textbook, okay? That's interesting, the direct method and the other methods. It's more inexpensive and it doesn't include allocations between support departments. It's easier to calculate, okay? Then step down method. Okay. Now the step down method, guys. Okay. Now, what's between the step down and the direct method and the reciprocal? It's based on a ranking system. Okay. So what it does is it basically provides allocations to both support and operating on a ranking basis, right? Which means we don't help everyone. We only help like the highest rank helps everyone. Then the second rank only helps the person after that. And then last support only helps operating. Okay. So provides allocations to support and operating based on a ranking. Okay. Which is based on the company. I won't even say it like that. Okay. Ranking. Okay. Now, what is another difference between from the step down method and some of the other methods? Okay. It's more simple than the reciprocal. More simple than reciprocal, right? This is straight out of your book as well. Because it doesn't recognize the difference between all support departments, right? So you're not allocating everyone, you're only ranking to a few. So more simple than reciprocal because of what we said above. Okay? And guys, on your exam, by the way, when you get this type of question, because it's coming, you're getting a theory-based question because you're in your major courses. I want you guys to know now, answer it like I'm doing with bullet points. Don't go write a massive paragraph. It's a waste of your time because at the end of the day, your grader is only looking for a few specific things. Okay? So it's more simple than reciprocal because it provides allocations based on a ranking system. All right. Now, last but not least, you have reciprocal. And you can also say it's more inexpensive. Okay. Reciprocal method's the last one. Okay. Now, guys, here's the first thing. Okay. Now, in this question, guys, they also ask you that what method should be used. They don't only ask you the differences. So in this question, guys, all right, we explain the differences. So reciprocal, all supports, departments, allocate cost to each other and operating. So they reciprocate everything between each other. They help everyone and operating. So that's the most important thing. They help everyone. It's not only on a ranking basis. Okay. But I also want you guys to put this here because this is a very important point. Okay, so let me actually put an underline here. Step down. Then here, reciprocal. Okay. So that's the difference between reciprocal and that's the difference between reciprocal and the others. Everyone helps everyone. Okay. Everyone reciprocates to each other. But this is what I want you guys to know. Which method should be used? Okay. So guys, whenever this is asked, okay, you're always going to recommend reciprocal. Reciprocal, it's also in your textbook, and I'll explain why. Reciprocal, nice pronunciation, method is the best method. Okay, guys? In other words, this is the method you always recommend. You always recommend reciprocal. All right? Why? Because it's the most fair. You should be allocated costs based on the amount you use. So the direct and step down ignores some allocations. So for example, guys, you see how tech support helps information systems and facilities. right? We see this very clearly here. Well, since we did the step down, we ignored this, right? Is that fair? Not really, because they use their services. They should be billed some portion of it, right? We should have some cost allocated tech support because they use the service, right? So, guys, reciprocal is the most fair because everyone should take the burden of the cost that they use, right? So if you use a service, guys, you should be responsible for some sort of payment, right? I hope that makes sense. Like nothing in life is free. I'm just letting you guys know. Okay, so you should pay based on the amount you use. That's why reciprocal is the best. Because if reflects, guys, it's even in the textbook, they say this. So let me actually just not get too ahead of myself here. Let's write this. Always recommend this. Always recommend this method. Okay, always recommend reciprocal. Okay, now in the textbook, guys, it literally says this if you read it. Reciprocal is the best method. Why? Because it reflects, I love this word here, reflects the economic reality. Okay? Reality of the divisional activities. Okay? Reflects the economic reality of the divisional activities, right? So whatever the division actually did, the amount they use is the amount they should be billed for. So guys, on your exam, make sure you write this when you're recommending reciprocal. Reciprocal is the best method. Why? Because it reflects the economic reality. You say that, I guarantee you're getting your marks. Okay? You should be billed the amount you use. That's it. That's all. All right, guys. Now, just like that, you've done listen, I'm just going to say it's an easier past midterm question, but it's your second problem ever. You did a past midterm, right? So if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see you in the next video. Hey, everyone, let's get into question 3 for chapter 15 on period cost allocation. Okay, so now you guys should obviously be experts because this is your third question. So I'm going to try to go a little bit faster. Okay, I'm kidding about being experts. I'll try to go a little bit faster, but knowing me, I'll end up going at my regular pace. Okay, so anyways, guys, when reading through the question, all right, the first thing that we have to look out for is what are the support departments, and then which are the operating. Okay, what are the cost drivers for the support department? So how do they allocate cost? And then 3, we go answer the required. Okay, so guys, in this question, they tell you the service departments are here. The producing departments are here. In other words, guys, they try to use fancy words for support and operating. That should not throw you off. Okay. Now, next thing, guys, we have to notice here is they give you the kilowatt hours, square foot, number of employees, machine hours, direct labor hours. So you see a bunch of different cost drivers, guys, but we don't know how each division allocates it yet. Okay, so we don't know how utilities allocates cost. We don't know how maintenance allocates cost. We don't know how personnel allocates cost. So we have to keep reading. Now look here. Assume that the cost drivers for each department are as follows. So they tell you utilities allocates based on kilowatts, maintenance allocates based on square feet, personnel number of employees, machining, machine hours, assembly, direct labor hours. So we know each division allocates cost. Now, guys, let's read the required, okay? Now, in this required, guys, all right, it's something a little bit different than what you've seen. And this is a type of question that's come on the exam as of recent, well, at least at the time of doing this recording, okay? So let me show you what this question is and be prepared to have something like this on your exam, okay? Assume utilities allocated first, then maintenance, and finally personnel. Indicate the proportions in numerical fractions, this is the key word here, in which service department costs will be allocated to various departments using A, the direct method, B, the step down. Okay, so guys, basically it's asking you, okay, doing the step down method, okay, all right, and direct, obviously, direct and then step down. We only want to see the proportions in numerical fractions. So guys, like I said, this is a question that's come up on the exam as of recent. They don't want you to allocate the cost, guys. All right? They want you to allocate the cost. Instead, they want you to see the proportions, what proportions you would have used if you were to allocate the cost. So $800,000 times what proportion for utilities, right? That's an example. So I'm going to show you guys how we're going to answer this type of question because this is the type of thing that you should expect on your exam. Okay? So we got required here, R-E-Q-U-I-R-E-D. Okay, so required 1. Okay, so guys, we're building the cost we're building like our cost table, our allocation table, let's call it the allocation table. But rather than allocate costs with it, we're just going to have proportions. Okay, so required 1, required A is doing the direct method. Okay, so let's go build our board here, utilities, maintenance, personnel, machining, assembly. Okay. So I'm going to write cost before allocation here, guys, and just put a bunch of dashes through it because, well, we're not allocating costs here, guys. Required one is we're only doing the proportions. So you have cost before allocation. Okay. Then you're going to first allocate utilities, which is based on kilowatt hours. Okay. KW. Then you're going to allocate maintenance, which is based on square meters or square feet, whatever. I don't know why they call it square meters. And then number of employees, which is called people for some reason. So people. Okay. And that gives us our cost after allocation, which we don't care about either. Okay. Because like I said, we're only doing proportions. Okay. So this is a proportion matrix. Right. Now, guys, since we're doing the direct method for part A, I hope you agree with me with our proportion for utilities, maintenance, and personnel is 0. And it's going to be 0 everywhere because when you're doing the direct method, you ignore the relationship between support departments. Okay. Now, let's do our total allocation first off for utilities. Okay. Now, utilities, guys, how much do they allocate to themselves? Well, utilities, guys, allocates 800 kilowatt hours to themselves. So, but do you include this in your analysis? The answer is no. Not because it's the direct method, all right, guys, but because you never do any self-allocations. So even though you allocate 800 kilowatt hours to yourselves, you do not care about that because you allocate to other departments. Now, utilities also allocates 1,200 maintenance, 500 personnel, but you're doing the direct method, so you do not care. So you have 0 here and then 0 here. Okay, so we got maintenance, personnel. Okay. Then, guys, you have machining, and then you have assembly. Okay, machining, guys, uses 33,300 and assembly uses 35,000. 33,300 plus 35,000 gives you a total, guys. Let's check here. 68,300. Okay? So guys, our proportion for machining, okay, machining uses 33,300 of the 68,300. So that is our proportion. Okay, so 33. I'm just going to simplify it a little bit. I'm just going to knock off the zeros at the end over 683. Okay. Now, guys, like I said here, the proportions, they have to be in numerical fractions. Please don't be that person that puts the decimals on your exam because then you put your grader in a rough place where they have to ask the coordinator if it's okay they use the decimal. And it's very possible the coordinator will probably say no. Okay, because you have to read the question, you have to answer it as it's asked. So you can't put in a decimal, you have to leave it in a proportion. It's like we've done for every other problem, guys. Okay, we always keep everything in terms of proportion. We could simplify the fraction a bit, but we don't have to. Okay, I just simplified it a bit because I didn't want to write 33,300. So I just knocked off the zeros at the end. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, so we got 350, sorry, not 350. Well, it's going to be 350. 35,000 over 68,300. That gives us a 35, all right, or 350 over 683. 68300. Okay, so 350 over 683. There we go. Okay, that's our first proportion. Next, maintenance. Total allocation for maintenance. Utilities, maintenance, personnel. All right, since we're doing the direct method, all right, maintenance is going to allocate nothing to utilities. Okay, so even though they allocate 1,000, we don't care. Now, how much does maintenance allocate to themselves? Always 0. It doesn't matter if we're doing the direct method, step down reciprocal, it's always 0. You never do self-allocation. And then personnel also 0 because you're doing the direct method. Now, you also have machining and assembly. Machining uses 40,000 and assembly uses 5,000. So 40,000 plus 5,000 gives us a total. Right, total here as well. A total of 45,000. Okay, so guys, you're going to build your proportions here. So 40,000 over the total of 45. And 5,000 over the total of 45. So guys, building these proportion matrices are actually pretty easy. So 40,000 over 45,000. Now, guys, I'm looking at my Excel answer here. Excel simplifies the answer a little bit. Okay, so if you were to do this in your calculator, I think you would get 8 over 9. If you guys want, you could check that on your own. Because some people like to do the math. If you do 40,000 divided by 40,000, so 40,000 divided by 45,000, you'll get 8 over 9. But guys, this is not a math course. All right, this is an accounting course. You could leave the proportions as is. Let's just simplify and put it 40 over 45. Okay, and then this one, this will be 5 over 45. Okay, because if I knock off the zeros at the end. Okay, I'm not going to go type into my calculator because I really don't care. All right. Like I said, this is not a math course, it's an accounting course. Just put the proportions and you are good. And last, total allocation for employees, all right, for personnel. So you got utilities, maintenance, personnel. We're doing the direct method, so nothing's allocated utilities, nothing's allocated maintenance because we're doing direct method, and personnel. They provide 15 employees to themselves. Do you care about this? The answer is no. And why? Because you're doing, sorry, no, oh my God, because I was about to say because you're doing direct method. No, because you never do self-allocations. Now, guys, in the question, let me show you a little shortcut here, just to really help yourselves. If you know utilities allocates based on kilowatts off the bat, you see utilities allocates themselves on your exam, guys, just black this out. Okay, maintenance. You see they allocate 1,000 themselves, just black this out. Pretend it doesn't exist. Okay, personnel. You see they allocate 50 employees themselves, black this out. No self-allocations, not in this lifetime. Okay? Now, everyone, next up, we have maintenance and we have assembly. Total. Now, maintenance, guys, uses 147 people. Assembly uses 20. So the total allocations for 167. So we do 147 over 167, then 20 over 167. Okay? There we go. Now, that's what we're going to put here. 147 over 167, and then 20 over 167. And guys, that is the answer to your question here, or to the question. We're to show your proportion matrix, okay? All right, indicate all the proportions that the service department would have used. So guys, if we were allocating these costs here, these are the proportions we would have used using the direct method. Okay, this is how it would look. So guys, whenever you get a question that asks for proportions, you build your allocation schedule like we did here, but leave the cost sections blank, put in your proportions, and you're set. Okay, now let's do the step down method. Okay, so the step down method, guys, they give us the ranking, the utilities, maintenance, and personnel. So it follows this order. That's chill. And we also see, guys, there's no coincidence. It's based on highest to lowest cost. Okay, that's the one that we usually get, but we always look for if it's percentage of service rendered. All right, we're always gonna be careful, but you know, we take our assumption to heart, and they actually already tell it to us anyways. But I just wanted to show you guys how it's highest to lowest cost again. That was my big thing here. So utilities, maintenance, personnel, machining, assembly, line down the middle. Okay, cost before allocation. Don't care because I'm doing a proportion matrix. Okay, it's just required B for step down. Okay. Then, guys, we put utilities, maintenance, personnel, cost after allocation. Okay. So let's get after this, guys. First off, we have our total allocation for utilities. Now, utilities allocates 800 to themselves, but we never do self-allocations, 0. Then maintenance, 1,200. Okay. Then personnel uses 500. Then machining uses 33,300. Okay. Then assembly uses 35,000. So our total is what? It is, let's see here, 70,000. Okay, that's our total. So our proportion, guys, for utilities, 0. Never do self-allocations anyway, so it's like saying 0 over 70. Okay, you could just put 0, it's fine. Then you do 1,200 over 70,000. That's your next proportion. So in other words, 12 over 70, right? Or 12, or 1 over 70. I think you could write it like that, right? If you're really paranoid, we'll just take off 2 zeros at the back end. So 12 over 700, actually. So I take off 2 zeros. I'm really scared about making a dumb error. Okay. Then we have 500 over 70,000. So I'm going to take off 2 zeros. So we got 50 over 700. Okay. Then we got 333 over 700. Then we got 350 over 700. Okay. Because it's like saying 70,000 here, 70,000 here. Okay. So we just like simplified fractions. That's all we did. Okay, so I took 2 zeros off here. Wait, did I take 2 zeros off? So 5 over 700. Whoops, because if I take 2 zeros off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that is how you would do it, guys. Okay, almost made a dumb mistake there. Okay, now, next up, maintenance. So maintenance, guys, doesn't allocate utilities because they're doing the step down. Okay, you allocate from left to right when doing the step down. So let's go build our total allocation for maintenance now. Okay, they don't help utilities because they're the second rank. Maintenance, they provide some amount of square meters themselves, but you never do self-allocations, always 0. Personnel, 1,000. Okay, then machining, 40,000. Then assembly, 5,000. Total allocation of 46,000. So 1,000 over 46,000. We knock off the 3 zeros, 1 over 46. Okay. Then 40,000 over 46,000. Okay, knock off the zeros. That's 40 over 46. Okay, whoops. Oh, geez. I should really just learn to chill out now. So 1 over 46, 40 over 46, then 5 over 46. Okay? I got to be careful now with the careless mistakes. This is why I wish I was in the live tutorial. I hope I would have someone calling me out. Instead, I'm here doing a recording by myself. Okay? Now, personnel. No allocations to themselves. Okay? So, guys, the last support department when doing the step-down method is like doing the direct method. So, utilities, maintenance, personnel, they won't allocate anything utilities because they're doing the step-down method, right? Utilities is first rank. They don't allocate to maintenance because they're second rank since personnel is the last rank. All right. They don't allocate to any support departments. And remember, guys, they don't allocate anything themselves. No self-allocations. Okay. Always remember that. Now you have machining, which uses 147. And then you have assembly, which uses 20, 167. So the proportions, guys, look exactly the same as the direct method. 147 over 167. And then 20 over 167. And you don't do any cost allocations. And that is your answer to this question. Okay, there we go. You have done now the proportion matrix under the step down and the direct method. Here are your answers. Okay, these rows. Sorry for almost the careless mistakes when doing maintenance. That's what happens when you go a little bit quick. Okay, now last required, guys, and this is something you have not seen before. This is something you're maybe used to from COM 305 if you remember. Personally, guys, I forget classes the second I finish taking them. Well, at least sometimes. Okay, sometimes I remember it for a little bit longer unless it's managerial classes, because I've been teaching them for like the past 3 years, except for this class it's been 2 years. Right, I have like some permanent scarring, some permanent PTSD from managerial accounting. Okay, so I'm not forgetting it, but you guys, I would expect you to forget it. Okay, now in this question, guys, using the step down method, determine the factory overhead application rates. So this is much more of a niche question. I'm going to show you guys how to solve it because it's actually pretty easy, okay? So guys, if you remember in COM 305, you calculated something in chapter 3 called the PMOH. That's your predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. That's the rate you use to apply your overhead, all right, throughout the year for your department, right? That's the rate that we use to apply overhead to our products throughout the year for the department, okay? Now, what we're doing here, guys, is we're figuring out what is that rate for the department, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how you calculate the PMOH in COM 305. Your predetermined overhead rate, your PMOH, is your estimated overhead, right? The amount of overhead you think you're going to spend, right? Divided by your expected activity, which is basically like the cost driver, right? So what cost, right? Or what activity is the best representation of the overhead cost, right? So in the machine department, it tells you your expected activity, right? Your cost driver. And you can think about it like this: expected, instead of writing expected activity, you can write expected use of cost driver. Okay. Right. So essentially, guys, for like the machine department, we're taking the estimated overhead and we're dividing it by the expected machine hours. Just remember this, guys. Okay. When calculating these questions, I'm going to just write expected activity because that's how I've been teaching it for years. Okay. This is what you have to know. The expected activity is always given to you in the question. All right. The same way we figured out the cost drivers for the support department, right? We see here like utilities based on kilowatts, maintenance based on square meters, personnel is based on the number of people, right? You see how the cost drivers are given to us for these support departments? When calculating the overhead rate, guys, they tell you what the expected activity is for each operating department. So understand this, guys. It's predetermined overhead rate calculated for operating departments only. Okay? Now, Guys, when doing this question, all you have to do, guys, when calculating the predetermined rate, you're going to see it's just like a little addition, not addition, like I'll just say it like this. It's a little addition to our table. So you see, guys, to calculate this problem, it's a quick modification to our cost allocation table, and it's actually extremely easy. Maybe you guys are like, oh my God, COM 305. Oh no. I promise you it's very straightforward, okay? Now, your predetermined overhead rate, guys, is your estimated overhead, but now in the purposes of ACCO 330, because in COM 305, this is how you did it, all right? You took your estimated overhead, you divide by expected activity. In ACCO 330, this is how you're calculating it. You're taking your cost after allocations for the operating department, and then you divide it by, all right, the expected activity. And that's given to you in the question. They tell you what it is, the expected use of the cost driver. Okay, so remember, guys, this cost after allocations is calculated in table, and you're going to see what we're going to do. And this expected activity is given to you, right? So we see here, guys, the machine department, all right, the expected activity for the machine department is based on number of machine hours, and for the assembly, it's based on direct labor hours. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how we're going to calculate it. Now, in doing this question, we're going to be allocating everything for the step down. And then once we're done allocating the cost, we're going to go find the rate for each department. So let me show you the table and how we're going to calculate the predetermined overhead rate. Okay, guys? Because when you prepare your cost after allocation table, or your cost allocation table, sorry, you're going to be building it like this from now on so you can calculate your predetermined overhead rate easily. Okay? So first off, guys, we have utilities. So required to here. Utilities, maintenance, okay, personnel, then machining, assembly. Then we have cost before allocation. Then we have utilities, maintenance, personnel, cost after allocation. Okay, now guys, look how simple this is. I'm going to show you. Now, you take your cost after allocation, guys. Okay, and look how simple I made this. You divide by your expected activity. Divide by EA, the stands for expected activity. And that gives you your PMOH. That's simple, guys. Okay? I mean, you could put it on this side, guys, but you're not calculating the overhead rate for the support department. It's operating only, okay? I know I'm not getting an answer to that, okay, but I'm saying it anyways, okay? Make a statement. Okay, now let's go allocate these costs. Now I'm going to go a little bit fast, guys, but just as always, if you have any questions, just let me know. I just don't want to waste your time. You guys done cost allocation, 2 other questions. This is the part that shouldn't confuse you. All right, the overhead rate is the most important part here. Okay, so guys, let's start allocating left to right. So utilities is going to be the first to allocate their 800,000. Now, guys, normally we'd build the allocation schedule here, right? Now, I'm going to tell you guys this was also a past midterm question, okay? Now, everyone, maybe some of you are inclined for utilities to build your total allocation schedule again, right? I say the word again there on purpose because, guys, you did your allocation schedule in the previous required for the step down. You know what your allocations are going to be. So look here, utilities, right? It's 12 over 70 or 700, okay? So essentially what we're going to be doing, guys, all right, I'm going to copy this down here, but it really shouldn't alarm you. Okay, on your exam, you should already say in your head, I already have the answer to this. I don't have to go break my head. Okay? Now, guys, first things first, utilities, the top dog, they help maintenance. Okay? How much do they help maintenance? They provide 1,200 over 70,000. Okay? Kilowatts. Okay? 1,200 over 70,000 times 800,000. That should give you 13,000. Okay? 13,000. Was it 714.2571? Oh my God, 13,714. Okay, I'm rounding, guys. I'm sorry. I know I didn't round in the previous one. I lied, but this one I'm doing it. Okay, 714. Then 800,000, and then personnel uses 500 of the 70,000 hours. So they should take that percentage of the burden. Okay, so 5,714. Okay, this is 0.28. I should just round it. Okay, fine. 0.29, 0.28. Okay, or 29, sorry, as well. Okay, then 800,000 times 333 over 700. That gives you 38,051. Or sorry, 380,051. 380,571. Okay, reading a solution is hard. 0.43. Then 400,000 is the next one for assembly. Okay, that's 800,000 times 350 over 700. Okay, now that's allocating utilities to every other support department. Okay, now maintenance. Maintenance doesn't allocate anything to utilities because the step down method, you go left to right on the chart. Okay, now first things first here, guys. Maintenance. The amount of costs that we're allocating from maintenance, first off, we have the 650 before allocations, plus the 13,714 that they get from utilities, right? So 13,714 is passed on to maintenance. Now they're going to take that cost and pass it on to everyone else. Okay? So that's 663,714. Okay, and technically 0.29, but my Excel rounded a little bit. Okay? Now, guys, what we got here, we got 14,000. Okay, 428.57. Okay, how did we get that? 663.714 times that by the amount that personnel uses from maintenance. Okay, so personnel, guys, uses 1,000 of the 46,000 square meters. So they should take that percentage. So 663.714 times 1,000 over 46, that gives you 14,428. And 663.714 times 40 over 46, that gives you 577,142.86. Okay, then 663,714 times 5,000 over 46,000, that gives you 72,142.86. Okay, now personnel. And personnel is the last ranked member. When doing personnel, guys, is basically exactly like the direct method. So 0, 0, you go do your little staircase. Now, personnel, guys, $400,000 for allocations. They get 5,714 from utilities, 14,428 for maintenance. So that means a total cost to be allocated of 420,143. Okay, guys, now my Excel rounded. So maybe you guys are like, Matthew, I'm a couple dollars off. Guys, chill out on your exam. You make sure you use your decimal places. For me, I said this in the previous video and live, but now I'm doing back-to-back recordings. I'm getting a little bit tired. So I'm sticking to it. I'm rounding to this, okay? Now, we got 420,143 in cost. Personnel uses 147 of the 167 employees. Not personnel. Maintenance uses 147 of the 167 employees in personnel. So 420,143 times 147 over 167. That gives you 369,826.35. Then 420,143 times 20 over 167. That gives you 5,316.51. Okay, that gives us a cost after allocation, guys, for machining. I feel like I've said the wrong names. I feel like I've said maintenance for machining, and I've changed it. I've changed it before, like just verbally. Okay. Anyways, machining 2,557,541, and assembly is 892,459. Okay, now there we go. We've now got our cost after allocation for machining and assembly. Okay. Now, guys, we have to go calculate our predetermined rate. So our predetermined rate, guys, is basically the rate for every, and you have to think about what's the predetermined overhead rate, right? Or what is a rate in general? The rate, guys, anytime you hear a rate of something, it's like the cost of one. A rate in life, all right, is basically like the cost of one unit, right? Or one cost driver, right? What do I mean by that? Let's just say we're talking about apples. What's the rate per apple? That's like saying what's the cost per apple. Essentially, here what we're doing, guys, for machining, we're figuring out the rate per machine hour. Okay, so for machining, guys, they have a total of 2,557,541 in costs. Okay, so we need to find out what's the cost for every one machine hour. That's your predetermined rate, your rate for every hour, and that's the rate we're going to use to apply overhead for the department throughout the year. Okay, now the machine department, guys, after allocations, they have 2,557,541 in costs. And then, guys, the machine hours here is right here. right? 500,000 machine hours is the amount of machine hours that the machine department is going to use. So let's find the rate per hour. If your cost after allocations is 2,557,541 and you use 500,000 hours, okay, that means your rate per hour, guys, is 5.12. All right, so for every hour, you're going to apply 5.21 in overhead. Okay, now some of you are like, Matthew, I didn't get that exact number. Just remember, guys, that Excel rounds. Okay, Excel rounds. All right, or sorry, Excel does not round. All right, so Excel took all the decimals into account, even though they don't show. Okay, so you might get a slightly different number. Don't be worried about that. Okay, like I said, on your exam, don't round at all. All right, don't round. All right, unless it says like round to 2 decimals, but I doubt that. All right, usually they don't make you round. All right, now for the next one, for assembly, our cost after allocation is 892,459. And now the assembly department, guys, is based on direct labor hours. So how many direct labor hours does the assembly department use? They use 60,000 hours. So 892,459, okay, divided by 60,000 gives us a predetermined rate of $14.87 per hour. So for every 1 hour these employees work, we apply 14.87 overhead, and that is the predetermined rate, guys. All right, the predetermined rate tells you the amount of rate that you're applying for each one expect activity. So for every 1 hour, we apply 5.21 in overhead. Sorry, for every 1 machine hour in the machine department, 5.21 in overhead. For every 1 direct labor hour in assembly, we apply 14.87 in overhead. Okay, we've used the predetermined rate to find the cost, all right, or the rate per hour that we will use to apply to our jobs in the respective departments throughout the year. And that is how you calculate the predetermined overhead rate. This is something you should expect on your exam. Get used to it, guys. Like I said, this new table is your best friend. All right, this is how you're doing your cost allocation table going forward to take into account the extra section at the bottom that allows you to calculate the predetermined rate. I hope this helps, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Subscribe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why I said that. Okay, bye. Hey everyone, let's get into this tough Chapter 15 question on period cost allocation. So let's read it and really get after this. The GMAT Corporation has 3 service departments: factory administration, factory maintenance, and buildings and grounds. Okay, guys, so that's what I want you to highlight. Those are your support departments. Okay, remember when reading through the text, we look at the support departments, which are the operating departments, and how does each department allocate their cost accordingly? Okay, well, not accordingly. How do they allocate costs in the first place? Okay, so 3 support, 2 producing. So factory admin, factory maintenance, building grounds, machining assembly. Okay, so we got support here on the left and operating here on the right. Okay, so far so good. Okay, they're currently evaluating several methods of allocating service departments to budgeted costs to producing departments. Accordingly, the following information is prepared for the month of June 2023. Okay, so we see the budgeted costs, square footage, labor hours. Now let's keep reading. Okay, so the cost of factory administration and building grounds departments are allocated on the basis of total labor hours and square footage, respectively. Guys, please highlight that. They are telling you how each department allocates their cost. So for square footage, we know that's building and grounds, B and G, and then labor hours is factory admin, FA. So we're just going to use some abbreviations here, guys. Factory admin will be FA, this will be FM, and this will be B and G. Okay, so BG. Okay, so guys, if we didn't read that question, it's possible, or did not read that question. If we didn't read carefully, guys, there, we could have made a very, very bad mistake, okay? Now, let's keep reading. However, the cost of factory maintenance departments are allocated on the basis of percentage of services rendered, 20% for building grounds, 50% machining, and then 30% for assembly. Okay, so factory maintenance allocates based on percentage of service, and then they give you the percentage that they give to every other department. Okay, so far so good there. All right, now let's read the required. So we know the support and the operating. That's our first step when we're reading. We know how they allocate costs. That's our second thing that we do. And 3, we go to the required. So required 1 is to do the direct method, okay? Direct allocation. So let's build our board and let's get started with the direct method, okay? So we built the board here. So factory admin, factory maintenance, building and grounds, BG. Okay, then we have machining and assembly. Okay, so we start with our cost before allocation, C before A. So guys, I'm going to be going a bit fast because at this point you should be experts. Kidding, but you know, this should be okay. This is nothing too crazy. This information is given to us in the question, what I'm writing right now. Nothing too bad. This is our cost before we go messing around with the numbers. And by messing around, I mean doing the right thing, which is allocating costs. Okay. So we have FA, FM, BG, then CAA, which stands for cost after allocation. Okay. So guys, we're doing the direct method. So I hope you don't mind that I put 0 all across the board here. Okay. Nothing too crazy. Now let's do our allocation schedules. Okay. So for factory and min, okay, they allocate based on labor hours. So guys, we're doing the direct method. All right. So there's no allocation between support departments. So how much does factory and min allocate to themselves? Nothing. How much does factory and min allocate to factory maintenance? Nothing. How much does factory and min allocate to building and grounds? Also nothing. Okay. Always just remember, guys, no self allocations. You see here how factory and min offers 28,000 hours themselves. We're always going to ignore that in our analysis. As a matter of fact, guys, I'm just going to cross it off now. Okay. No reason to waste my time and potentially make a mistake later on. I'm also going to remove the self allocations for building and grounds. Okay. Then we have machining here. Then we have assembly and then total. Okay. So factory min provides 480,000 hours to machining, 320,000 hours to assembly. That gives us a total of, let me check my solution here, 800,000. And that's our allocation. Okay, now in terms of our proportions, okay, our proportion for factory maintenance is 480 over the total of 800,000. Okay, then for admin, assembly, sorry, 320 over 800,000. Okay, so I'm not going to bother simplifying that proportion, guys. Okay, like I said, my answer is on Excel. So I'm going to show you guys how we're going to calculate it though. Okay, now I put zeros here. I should erase that. My bad. That's just me rushing as usual. Okay, so now, guys, we have factory and min. They have $68,000 in costs. Okay, so we're going to take that $68,000. We're going to remove it. Okay, because we're taking that 68,000 and we're passing it to the operating. Okay, right? So now 68,000 times 480. So this is what we're doing, guys. We're taking 68,000 times 480 over 800. That'll give us, guys, $40,800. Okay. Then, guys, we have $68,000 in costs. Admin, sorry, I keep saying admin. Assembly uses 320 of the 800. So 68,000 times 320 over 800. That gives me 27,200. Okay, there we go. Those are allocations for machining and for assembly. Okay, now let's do factory maintenance. Okay, factory maintenance has $60,000 in costs. So it takes $60,000 away. And always remember, guys, your cost after allocation for each of the support departments has to be 0 because you have to completely allocate those costs to the operating departments because they use the services. Okay, now for building and grounds, for factory maintenance. Okay, FM. Okay, we are now going to go do our allocation schedule. Okay, so how much does factory maintenance allocate to factory and min? The answer is nothing because they tell you nothing, right? They don't do any allocations, but also, guys, remember doing the direct method. Then how much does factory maintenance allocate to themselves? Always 0. You never do any self allocations. Then building and grounds, also 0. Why? Because we're doing the direct method. Plus machining plus assembly equals total. Okay, now factory maintenance provides factory maintenance 50% of the services. Okay, so 50% here. Then they provide admin 30%. I keep saying admin. What's wrong with me? Assembly 30%. That gives us a total of 80%. Okay, so guys, these proportions are a little bit tricky because remember, we're going to turn everything into a fraction. So it's like saying, guys, the proportion that we're going to use for machining is 50% over the total of 80%. Okay, so it's a little bit weird because maybe you're thinking, Matthew, why doesn't it add up to 100? Well, look at here, guys. 20% of the service goes for building and grounds, but we're doing the direct method, so we ignore it. So the reality is, guys, your total allocation only sums up to 80% when you're allocating factory maintenance. That was the trick on this question, which, like I said, well, I think I said, is from a past exam. All right, this is a past midterm. So that threw off a lot of students because they're like, wait, it should add up to 100%. Well, not in this case, guys. Because you're ignoring the 20% allocating and building grounds because we're doing direct method, the total's only 80%. So your proportion for machining is 50 over 80. Then for assembly, it's 30 over 80. Okay, and if you do the math, it comes out to like, I think this one comes out to like 0.625, right? And then here's 0.325. something like that. You could go check the math. Okay. So anyways, guys, if we do 60,000 times 50 over 80, we'll get 37,500. Then if we do 60,000 over 30% over 80%, that gives us 22,500. Okay. Last but not least, building and grounds. Building and grounds, $53,000 in costs to be allocated. Let's do our total allocation. So B and G. Okay. So guys, I'm just going to do machining and assembly here. No reason to repeat the same thing over and over again because we're only doing the direct method. So 70,000 square feet is provided machining. 30,000 is provided to building and grounds. Okay, that gives you a total of 100,000. So our proportions is 70,000 over 100, 30 over 100, 53,000 times 70 over 100 is what? That would be 37,100. And then 15,900, which is 53,000 times 30 over 100,000. Okay, so you're always doing the cost times the percentage of service or times the proportion. And guys, your total cost after allocation for machining is 1,635,400. And then 1,635,400. Then for assembly, it's 1,825,600. Okay, and that's your answer to required 1 using the direct allocation method. Okay, now required 2. Using the reciprocal method, provide simultaneous equations, including the mutual services provided among all service departments for factory maintenance, factory admin, and building grounds. Guys, here's the key thing here. The equations do not have to be solved. So remember, guys, on your exam, you're not going to have to, if you have 3 support departments and you're doing reciprocal, you don't actually have to know the math on how to solve the 3 equations. Remember, this is not a math course. You're not doing math 208, 209, 206, 201, whatever was your favorite math class. You don't have to be responsible for knowing the substitution method to solve the 3 equations. Okay? So if you get 3 support departments, ask your reciprocal, they're either going to give you the totals already that you're going to have to allocate, or they're going to tell you solve the equations. Okay, right? What the equation would be, don't actually like solve for the exact number. That's what we're doing here, guys. So we're going to go get into the equations right now. Okay, so let's get right into this for required 2. Okay, now it's important to remember, guys, when we're doing the equations, okay, your equation when you're doing the reciprocal method, all right, because you're doing the equations for the support departments. Because remember, what you're solving for here, guys, okay, what you're solving for, the equation you're solving for is what cost are you going to allocate here for each support department in the table, okay? Because what you allocate there is going to go right in your table. Sorry, what you solve for is going to go in your table. So this is what your equation is going to be. Your cost allocated, okay, is your cost before allocation for that support department. Okay, plus the amount we use. So it's the amount that we use of every other support department, plus the usage over the total of the next support department. So cost allocated S1 of support department 1 is the cost before allocation for support department 1, plus the usage over the total of support department 2. Okay, so how much does support department 1 use of support department 2 of the total? Okay, and guys, because this is a complicated question with 3 support departments, like I said, this is a past midterm, our equation will look like this because we have to add another part. Then we have to do this again, the usage over the total times support department 3. Okay, so let's show you guys with an example here because this is the equation that we're going to use. All right, so let me show you guys how to write this now, but with factory admin. So for factory admin, our cost that's going to be allocated for factory admin, all right, is the cost before allocation of factory admin, 68,000. Now, guys, we have to see how much is factory admin use of factory maintenance. Okay. Well, guys, we see here factory maintenance provides percentage of services, 20% for building and grounds, 50% for machining, 30% for assembly. So, guys, factory maintenance provides no help to factory admin. So what are we going to do here, guys? We're going to do plus 0, okay, over 100% times factory maintenance, okay, because we use nothing over the 100%. So if you look here, guys, let me actually just slow down a little bit. Let's do our total allocation, okay, for each support department. So one sec. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do like this. Yeah. Let's do the total allocation. Okay. So, no, I actually don't want to do it like that. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. Okay. So if you see the total allocation here, how did I get that? So let me just hear total allocation for factory maintenance. All right. It's 20% for building and grounds, plus 50% for machining, plus 30% for admin. Or sorry, assembly. I keep saying admin. So total is 100%. Okay. Then, guys, factory min. We figured out that they're using nothing for maintenance. But now, guys, we have to see how much does factory min use of building and grounds. So let's do our total allocation for BG. So for building and grounds, guys, factory and min, okay? How much do we use? What we see here, guys, factory and min, okay? And guys, these questions always look like this. You see how the columns are vertical. So we see here factory and min, okay, uses 1,000 building and grounds, and they allocate a certain amount of hours to themselves, but that I don't care about, okay? So for the building grounds total allocations, factory and min, you have 1,000, okay? Factory min uses 1,000 for building grounds. Then we have factory maintenance. Okay, factory maintenance uses 2,000 from building and grounds. Now we have building and grounds. All right. So how much does building and grounds help building and grounds? Guys, you see here how building and grounds provides 4,000 square feet to themselves, but you never do any self allocations, so it's 0. Then we have machining plus assembly gives us our total. So we have 70,000 here, 30,000 here, which gives a total allocation of 103. Okay. So factory min, guys, has a cost before allocation 68,000. They use nothing from factory maintenance. And then, guys, they use 1,000, because if you look at your proportion here, it's 100 over 103. 1,000 over 103,000, okay, times building and grounds. Okay? And that is your equation for factory and min. All right, so I hope that's okay with everyone. That's the first part of the required. Okay, now let's do factory maintenance and let's follow the equation. So the amount that we're going to allocate to factory maintenance in our chart, okay, is the cost before allocation of factory maintenance, guys. That's 60,000. Now, guys, factory maintenance, we have to see first off how much they use of factory and min. Okay, so we see our factory maintenance uses 24,000 hours from factory and min. So we put 24,000 hours here in the numerator. But now, guys, in the denominator, I need to see what is my total allocation for factory and min. So let me scroll down a little bit here. And this is what I was going a bit back and forth before. I was like, where do I put my total allocations? I should have started off with that, to be honest. But here we are. So total allocations, factory and min. So first off, factory and min allocates nothing to themselves. Remember the rule. We crossed out in the beginning. So 20,000, I don't care that you allocate that to yourself, 0. Then factory maintenance. Okay. So how many hours are allocated to factory maintenance? The answer is 24,000 labor hours right here. Then building and grounds, BG, that's 39,000. Then machining, which is 480,000, plus assembly, which is 320,000. That gives us a total allocation, guys, of, let's see here, my solution, 863,000. Okay, so our proportion for factory maintenance, guys, if you're seeing here, is 24,000 over 863. That's the amount they use of admin. Okay, so we do that times factory admin. Then, guys, we have to see the amount that factory maintenance uses of building grounds. So factory maintenance, guys, uses 2,000 of building and grounds over the total allocation of 103. So it's like saying 2,000 over 103. Factory maintenance. There we go. That is our equation number 2. Okay, so it's the cost before allocation plus the amount of use of the first support department. So in that case, this was factory admin, plus the amount used of the second support department, or in this case, the third, because there are 3. And that would have been building and grounds. Okay. Now, last but not least, guys, we have building and grounds, and then this required is done. So I made it look much easier than what it was, guys. Make sure you go redo this question because it's actually very tricky. Okay, so our cost before allocation for building and grounds is 53,000. Now, building and grounds, guys, first off, we need to see how much does building and grounds use of admin. So building and grounds uses 39,000 labor hours of the total 863,000 times factory and min, because that's the amount they use of that support department. Then, guys, how much does building grounds use of factory maintenance? Well, they use 20%. Right here, they use 20%. If you look at your allocation here, the 20%, so it's like saying 20% over 100%, which also comes out to 20%. You could just do 20 over 100 if you're paranoid. 20% over 100% times factory maintenance. Okay, so 53,000 is cost before allocation. That's the amount they use of the first support department. That's the amount they use of the next support department. Okay, so if you were to solve all these equations, guys, these are the numbers that would go into your table in these respective slots. Okay, and that is your answer to required 2. Now, required 3 is to do the step-down method. And now, guys, when doing the step-down method, we have to see how are they doing the ranking. The ranking's based on the highest and lowest cost. Boom, perfect. So let's get started. Let's check the highest and lowest cost. Wow, guys, they were very nice to us. It's in the right order already. Okay, so no reason to mess anything up. We are chilling. Okay, so let's go build our chart. So factory and min, factory maintenance, building and grounds. Okay, machining, assembly. Now we have cost before allocation. Let's put it here straight from the problem. 60,000 for maintenance, 53,000 for building and grounds, 1,520,000 for machining, 1,760,000 for assembly. Okay, now we have factory and min, factory maintenance, building and ground, cost after allocation. Okay, now, guys, let's start off with allocating factory and min. So factory and min, guys, has $68,000 in cost that we're going to have to allocate to every other support department and then the 2 operating, because it's the top ranking. It's the big dog. Okay, so let's do our total allocation for factory and min. So first off, guys, factory and min, how much do they allocate to themselves? 28,000. They'll put 28,000 here. If you did, you would get 0 as your grade because the answer is 0. Okay, you never do any self-allocations. Then factory maintenance. How much does factory and min help factory maintenance? Well, they provide them 24,000 hours. Okay, then building and grounds. They provide building and grounds 39,000 hours. Then machining, 480,000. Then assembly, 320,000. Okay, so guys, that gives us a total allocation of 863,000, which looks exactly like we did above doing the reciprocal. And that's because factory admin is our top dog. Okay, because they're the top dog, it's kind of like we're doing the reciprocal, right? Because they're allocating to everyone else, right? That's only because they're the #1 rank. So guys, 68,000. Now, how much are we allocating to factory maintenance? Our proportion is 24,000 over the total 863. Okay, so 68,000 times 24 over 863. That gives you, guys, 1,891. Oh, I hate these numbers. So 1,891. Then it's what the... Yeah, okay. I'm just going to round, guys. All right. My apologies here. I'm going to have my Excel round to 1 decimal, but not mathematically. So you guys know at this point, Excel is kind of annoying like this. Okay, so I'm leaving like this, but Excel's secretly rounding, even though I make it look like it's not rounding. Okay, so 1,891. Then, guys, our next proportion, building grounds uses 39,000 over the 863. Okay, so 68,000 times 39 over 863. That gives you 3,073. Okay, then next up, we have machining. So machining is 68,000 times 480 over 863. Okay, that's 37,822. Yeah, 37,822. Then 320 over 863. That gives you 25,214. Okay. Now, factory maintenance, guys. Factory maintenance allocates nothing to admin because, well, we're doing the step-down method. Okay, you know, allocate backwards. That's the reciprocal. Now, guys, factory maintenance here. We have to figure out the amount that factory maintenance is going to allocate. Okay, so let me actually put a 0 here and a 0 here as well. Okay, because you never allocate backwards. We got to figure out the amount that building grounds allocates. So factory maintenance, guys. Okay, so remember, we put always zeros as our cost after allocation because the support department costs have to completely be allocated. So guys, what number we're going to put here? What negative number? 60,000 plus 1 891 minus what gives us 0. Okay, that will give us negative 61,891. Okay, so remember, guys, Excel rounds a little bit, so please don't be so mad here. Okay, because your numbers might be like a couple dollars off, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, now for your total allocation for factory maintenance. Okay, so first off, factory maintenance allocates nothing in admin, right? Because they allocate nothing in the first place, but we're also doing the step down method. Factory maintenance allocates nothing themselves because you never do self allocations. Factory admin allocates 20% to building and grounds. They allocate 50% to machining, and they allocate 30% to assembly, which gives us a total of 100%. Okay, so our first proportion is 20 over 100%. So we do 161,891 times 20 over 100. That gives you $66. Okay, kind of weird. Wait, 66. There's no way that's the case. Wait, why is $66 on my solution? Wait, 1 second. Let me do the math here, guys. So equals this times open bracket, this divided by this. Yeah, that's a lot better. So are all my other solutions jacked up? Let's see. No, it's all good. Okay, perfect. Sorry, guys, for the false alarm. I was like, why is it $66? That makes literally 0 cents. So 12,378. Okay, there we go. Now we have machining next. Okay, machining 50% over 100%. That gives you 30,946. 30,946. Then we have 18. Hope it's okay that I skipped this. If you guys have any questions, let me know. 18,567. Then, guys, building grounds is last but not least. We add everything up because what number, all these numbers minus what gives us 0. So we kind of like can plug it or just do the math. So that gives us here 68,451. Okay. Now we do our allocations for building and grounds. And it's going to look exactly like the direct method because it's our last allocation here. It's like our bottom support department. So they only help the operating. So it's like we're doing 480,000 for machining. Oops, almost made a bad mistake there. 70,000 over 100,000 because that's the total allocation. Then we have 30,000 over 100,000 for assembly. Okay, so we have machining, assembly, totals 100K. We did that up top in the direct method. So 60 times 0.7, in other words, right? So 68,451 times 0.7 is 47,916. And then 20,535. Okay, that gives us total allocation or total cost after allocation 1,636, 683, and then 1,824, 824, 317. Okay. Now, everyone, maybe some of you are wondering why I'm making some space here. Okay, maybe it's because you read the question and you were like, wait, Matthew, what are you doing? We have to calculate the predetermined overhead rate. Okay. Unfortunately, guys, sometimes it's the habit of tutoring a class for so long. I just got straight into the solving here, and I already knew at the back of my mind that this question has the overhead application rate because I've solved it for the past 2 years. Okay, so I've made some room in the table to do the overhead application rate. Okay, because this is how your template's going to go. To calculate your predetermined overhead rate, you take your cost after allocation, you divide it by your expected activity. That gives us your predetermined overhead rate. Okay, now your expected activity, you have to see what is the cost driver. So what's the activity basis for the two operating departments? So how does machining incur cost? How does assembly incur cost? We see here the basis are based, the overhead rates are based on machine hours and they're given to you. So the machine department uses 400,000 machine hours. Okay, so our overhead rate for machining is 1,636,683 divided by 400,000, which gives us an overhead rate for the machine department of 4.09. Okay, that is your overhead rate for machining. Then for assembly, guys, overhead rates are this easy. It's $300,000 for assembly. So 1,824,317 is your cost after allocation for assembly. Okay. Then your predetermined rate, right, is based on 300,000 machine hours for assembly. So your rate per hour for the assembly department is 6.08. All right, guys. So this is your answer here. These are the application rates for the machining assembly department. And you have also your cost allocations here doing the step down method. Okay. And just like that, guys, you've solved, in my opinion, an advanced chapter 15 question on period cost allocation. If you guys have any questions, let me know because I know it went a bit quick. All right. See you guys in the next one.